Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Board Game Specialist. I am Melanie.
And I'm Carla.
And this week, we are doing our top 9 games played during the year of 2022. So because of that, I expect very different lists because me and Carla have a bit of a different audience when it comes to who we play games with the most. So how'd that list go for you, Carla?
Yeah, I wasn't shocked that a lot of them are lighter games. Of course, those are the ones that you can get multiple plays in throughout the year.
Yeah.
But I did have a few that I didn't put on the list that were campaign type games because it's kind of like the nature of the game.
Right.
So like that advent calendar, that would have been one of them because that was 24 plays, right? But I didn't put that, just, I don't know. I could have, I guess. And then another one I had was Rise of Queensdale. That was a campaign that we played. I think it was like 16 games, but because it's campaign driven, I didn't add it to this list. It very well could have fit, but I wanted to add like actual games that I just played that many times just by choice. So what about you? How did you find it?
Well, yeah, you know what? This was the easiest list to put together because you just open your app and then it tells you that they are.
Yes.
So it's like, oh, sweet, this will be a nice, easy one.
Yeah, you don't have to make choices.
No, exactly. That's good.
Yeah.
All right, but and then I'm looking at them, it's like, yeah, these are not by any means like, oh, these are my favorite games. This is really goes by the number. And I've written down how many times I've played it, but it's just, these are the easy to get to the table one. And it's the ones that we would play multiple times every time we do pull it to the table. So, yeah.
And some of them are who you play with's favorites, possibly.
Exactly.
Because,
100%. You betcha.
If you had the choice between to play something or not to play, you always want to play. So
yeah,
I'll play anything usually if somebody's up for it. But I mean, a lot of these I do love. They are,
Yeah, I wouldn't say anything on this list I hate. Right?
No.
There's no.
Oh no, I wouldn't.
But
want to play.
Yeah,
that
it wouldn't always be my top pick. But yeah. All right. Well, before we get into that, what have you been playing lately?
So I got to play Rebuilding Seattle. Was it Wednesday, I believe? And it was really neat. It's a polyomino game, but it's also an economic game.
Oh.
So you have this little player board in front of you, and you have these tracks that are different. Now I can't think of all of them, but one is like entertainment and can't think of the other ones. And then you have another track on the other side, which will move up your population because you are rebuilding the city. So you're placing these polyomino tiles on another little board that you are trying to connect certain things depending on goals that you have. But what you do on your turn is you will draft a card or like an extra square of the city that you can add to yours, and you can put it anywhere around your board. And then you could also buy a card, which could possibly be a polyomino tile and will allow you to move up your tracks. So these tiles will go on the boards that you've added. Another thing you can do is you can interact events. So there's 6 events on the table, and if you choose to put one into action, you get to do the whole card, and everybody else gets to do half of the card. So I've always liked that because then if somebody does that, everybody else gets to do something on their turn, and usually they get something. They will get another tile. They will get another card to add to their city. They might get some sort of income, but it's quite a puzzle because you have to balance your population. You don't want your population too far ahead of all the tiles you're building, because then when you put the events into place, if your little discs are not above population, you have to take that off in order to get the income. So then you're going to get way less income. So it's quite tricky to get your population down and to get your other tracks up. So there's different ways to do that, but it's quite like a tight economy, which is nice because then it's always, oh, what are we going to do? They're taking the card I want. No, I want this one, but I need this card now, and I want that one next turn. Which one do I take first?
Right.
So lots of cool decisions and really neat play. Different, like nothing that I can compare it to really. Like it's so. I know Ashley had compared, like she said, oh, I really like it more than Barron Park, but I'm like, I mean, it's polyomino, but it's nothing like the game.
That's
like
kind of where the
it's just the polyomino part of it I could see, but it's really neat and interesting. Only played it the one time so far, but looking forward to playing that one again. And then I also completed Light in the Mist. Now, I've talked about
how was that?
A little bit before, but I'll go into a little more depth. So this one is it's just a deck of tarot cards, and they all have different puzzles on them. So you have these like main cards, the main tarot deck that you will pull a card off of. And then on the top, like the art on these cards is just beautiful. But on the top of the card, there's all these like little vines with fruit. So you count the fruit that are on there. And then there's a symbol on the card. And however many fruit there are, that's how many cards you have to take out of the big deck in order to use for that puzzle. So some of them have like 2, 3. Some of them have like 15 cards you pull out. And then you lay them all out and you look at them and you're like, okay, how do these all interact with each other? How do they go together? Like, because you don't even know what the puzzle is. You have to figure out what the puzzle is before you can actually do it.
Right.
So you kind of look at them and then you're like, oh, okay, well, these kind of things go together. And the interesting thing is those 14 cards are for that puzzle, but they can also be for other puzzles. So the things you use like on the card this time will not be used in another puzzle. So you know when you pull that card next time, okay, well, I already used this, so it has nothing to do with this one. But they're just so interesting and unique, and they all kind of spell words. So you have to connect everything in order to make a word out of it. And then it has a story along with it. So you look up the word that you found out of the puzzle in the back of the book, and you go to this passage in the the book, and you'll read it, and it's like a whole story. Now you can start anywhere you want, and you just kind of go into these passages, and then you'll figure out at the end like kind of the whole story. It's really unique and interesting, and I've never played anything like it, but I love it. And I had planned on passing this game off, like selling it or whatever, but it's just so gorgeous. And a year from now, I will forget all these puzzles and I will just redo it again.
So, yeah, for sure.
It's awesome, though. I really recommend it. That's Light in the Mist. What about you?
Nice.
What have you been playing?
So I got in touch with Wes Woodbury, who's local to kind of central Alberta, so he doesn't live too far from me. He created Fundamental Game, so a board game publishing company for like, because he's done a few games, right? So he's just in the process of getting Forge kind of put together, game that he designed, and then Fundamental Game and Hammer Dog Games are publishing it. So I think it's going to be on Kickstarter next month or so. But he had like kind of posted about see if any content creator wanted to get a copy of his prototype. So I reached out to him. I was like, hey, well, why don't I just borrow the copy you've got now? Then I could try it out. Then I'll get it back to you. And he's like, oh, sure, that'd be great. So I picked it up from him, I want to say last week. And then I called my friend Dave with the Rat Hole. He does his own podcast and YouTube channels and stuff. So he does a lot of board game reviews. And then we played this game, and it's called Forge. And it's like about running a forge in the medieval time. And it is so neat. First of all, the pieces, like you've got these wooden bits for everything that are nice, big, and clunky and really bright colored, right? And then everybody's got, but like I think we all get like 6 little forge hammers. And that's kind of will keep track of like the order play, but it also keeps track of like the these different things that you've accomplished. Like there's a bunch of different, what's the word, like goals, I guess, that you're trying to accomplish. And the first one to put their 5th hammer down triggers the end of the game. So you're trying to accomplish this to end the game, but you're going around this worker placement, and you have your workers and you have your main forge guy, and you're going to go around, you're going to collect contracts from either the commons, like the city, or for the military, or for the royals. And like the common would be more wooden stuff that has a bit of metal on it. Like the military is going to be more weapon stuff, so it'd be more like the metal kind of stuff. And then you have like the royal stuff is going to be like more ornate, so they'll probably end up having to put gems and stuff on it, right? But then you're going to go around collecting the resources, because you're going to need wood, you're going to need the metal, you're going to need the gems, and then to be able to forge them and do all the things. But then you're going to also need to acquire different tools. So a grinding wheel that's going to give you, some will have different requirements. Some will require that you have increased your skill level as well, and then have certain tools and then certain resources in order to be able to complete the contract. And it was so neat. You know what? It kind of reminded me a little bit of Lord of Waterdeep, with the collecting the resources and trying to accomplish what these cards are that you have. And then you can kind of train your workers, I guess your apprentice, so that they get special abilities as well. And it was a lot of fun. So far, I've only got to play it at 2 players. I've played it with my friend Dave. I've played it with Lee. I was kind of hoping to rope the boys into playing a game, but it just hasn't happened yet. So maybe today. But it was just a really neat, interesting game. And it plays fairly, I want to say it plays fairly quick, but, I haven't timed it. The play feels quick, because it's not like one that's dragging. It's like, oh, we're almost done. You're kind of like, okay, great, I'm doing this. Oh, I'm doing this. And then all of a sudden it's like, what do you mean you've put your last hammer? I've got so much to do. But it's a very satisfying game. It looks really neat. It's not finalized. I know I sent like a few notes, and he's like, oh yeah, I like that. And then he kind of sent me files of pictures like, hey, I'm going to change it to this. So it's still getting tweaked a little bit, but it's a neat game. Like the gameplay is solid. So it was good. Next thing I played was Kingdom Builder. Finally got that one off my shelf of shame. I played it with Patrick and Lee. And this isn't really what I expected. I knew it was kind of area control, but it was a lot simpler than I thought it was going to be. And it played a lot quicker, but it was really good. I think this game would have like tons of replayability, because you pull out these different kind of goals of how you would score, and then you start putting stuff on the map. But you would flip a card and it gives you a terrain, and then you have to build on that terrain. And then the one that we had is we would score every individual clusters of, what are we putting on the map? Oh, houses. Yeah. So little clusters of population that you're putting on the map, we would score. And then we would score if we made a big long connection from castle to different locations. So we're trying to do these as well. And so it was like, it just kind of gives you different scoring. So every time you would play a little bit different. But you're like kind of at the mercy of what cards you flip and where you're going to play. It was really neat. Plus, if you got control of certain things, it would give you different abilities that you'd be able to move things over, or you'd be able to build on water and like different things like that. So that was really cool. I was surprised with it. I enjoyed it a lot. Well, which is how I feel every time I play an area control game. Oh, I don't like these. Oh, no, I do love it. So I enjoyed it quite a bit, but it just wasn't what I was picturing in my mind that this game, how it would play. So, but it was very satisfying. I'm looking forward to playing this one again. Have you played that one?
Yes, I have. Yeah. I think I played it kind of after Catan, and I felt like it was just a little bit more than Catan, like just slightly more. Yeah. But not not heavy, but just a nice like jump up from Catan kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. I could see the comparison there for sure. Mm-hmm. All right, good. So let's get into our top 9 list. So we're doing the top 9 games we've played in the year of 2022. So Carla, what was your number 9?
All right, my number 9, I've had 7 plays of, and actually the next 2, like this one and the next one, I've had 7 plays. But this one is Framework by Uwe Rosenberg, made in 2022.
Nice.
So this one is a tile laying game, a very simple rule tile laying game, but still a real thinky one, where you're just drafting a tile and placing it in your tableau on on your side of the table, and you're connecting these tiles. It's very similar to Nova Luna, where you have different colors that have to connect, and depending on the tile you place, that could say what you need to connect. So you're either placing down a tile with different frames around, different colored frames, or you're placing a goal tile, and the goal tiles could also have frames on them. So you could have either or both. And you are just trying to make the connection of what the goal says on the tile. And once you do, you get to place your little disc on the tile, and you're just racing to place all your discs. The first one to do it wins. And it's very thinky, very puzzly, but I just love it. And I love the fact it's just like a Carcassonne. Like you literally pull it out to the table, put 3 tiles out, and then you start. So there's no setup. There's a, 10-second setup and you're off and running. And it's just so addicting, this one. It's just like his other games, but it's just a little bit different. Like he's in this kind of tile laying genre right now where he has his heavy games, but then he has all these tile laying games and he's just mastering them one after the other. And I know some people are like, oh, this kind of takes over this for me, but I still enjoy them all because I still feel they all have a difference to them. But yeah, that's my number 9, Framework.
Nice. Yeah, that is a good one. My number 9, and actually my number 10 had 7 plays, and my number 9 had 8 plays. So this is for real number 9. It wasn't one that I had to pick between things. But so my number 9 is Pina Parada. This one was published in 2014. It's created by Donald X. Vaccarino. And as I mentioned, we played this one 8 times in 2022, which is funny because this is a fairly new game to the collection. Like I didn't own this all of 2022, but we played it with the kids and Lily just took such a liking to it. And it's just so satisfying to play. Like it's just beautiful. And you got these big, nice, chunky cards. Like they're like tarot-sized cards, which I find are so nice to play. And then it's really interesting because it's all like pirate animals type themes. So it's very whimsical looking, very bright colored. And most of the card will have 2 animals on it. So on the one side, you might have the parrot, and then if you flip it over, you might have the monkey, or so on. It plays a little bit like Uno. Like you'll put a card down, then it'll have like a parrot monkey, like I said. So then you can play any card that'll have a parrot on it or any card that has a monkey on it. And then you can play this on there. What gets really interested is you have like the 3 rules that you have to start with. And then anytime somebody clears their hand, so they win that round, they'll draw 3 new map tiles because you start with 1. Your goal is you're trying to build your full treasure map. So you start with 1, then you're going to look at these 3 tiles. You're going to pick one to put as a new rule. That's going to change a little bit how you play. So it could be like, monkeys are wild now. So you can play a monkey on anything. And, or something like that. And it just changes the game up so that it makes it interesting and trickier sometimes as you play. And then you'll pick one to put, to add it to your map. And the other one gets discarded. And you keep playing until somebody has built their entire map. But it's just so neat. It is just such a satisfying game to play. And obviously we played it lots. So we played this one 8 times. And that's Pina Parada.
Yeah, that's a neat one. And the fact that you have to play, like you have to basically win 4 games to win the whole game, which is neat. Awesome. My number 8, and the reason I chose this one higher up is because this is, I think, the only real heavy game on this list. Ooh, and this shocked me. But this is, I had 7 plays of this as well, and this is Ark Nova. And this is made in 2021 by Matthew Wiggs. Yeah, I didn't realize I had that many plays of this game, and we had played it quite early, like in the spring of last year.
Yeah.
And started, and then we haven't played it. I have to look when the last play was, but we must have played it quite a bit right in that time. And I do love this game. It's like a zoo building game where you are building up a zoo, but you're also trying to make connections to universities and have different, give some donations. And you have these tracks that you're going up. So the one track is, I'm lost of the name, but like I'm going to say like reputation kind of thing. And
Yeah.
then there's another track that goes the opposite way and meets it. And so once those meet, just like in another game called Rogers of the Ganges, that triggers the end of the game. So you want to cross those two tracks as much as possible because the difference between the two is your score.
Oh.
So now it could be a longer game. Once you've played it a few times though, then you could easily get it in within an hour and a half. The first few might take quite a while because you were building up your tableau. Similar style to like Terraforming Mars with the cards. They all kind of will maybe bonus off each other and you need certain symbols to build certain cards. It's quite neat. You have goals that you are trying to get to, and once you have reached them, then you can use an action to go put your little disc on, which will give you more bump ups on one of the tracks. You can make donations that will help you do that. There's also a third track just right down the middle of the board, which is important as well, because then that gives you access to more cards, because there's cards out in the middle that you can draft, but only to where you're up as high up as you are on that track, unless you use a certain action. Now, the action selection in this game is so cool too, and it takes from Civilization, where you have the 5 actions and you have them laid out, and they are like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 being the strongest and 1 being the weakest. So if you have like a build in 5, that will let you build like a higher amount of enclosures. If you had it at 1, it would be a very weak one that you could do. Now, once you've done an action, you take that card out and you slide it back to the beginning and they all slide over. So your actions, if you're trying to get something up high, there's ways to do that. You can get these little break tiles or these little X's that you can put on to add more power to your action. It's really clever and unique. And it's just, the theme right alone was like, yeah, building a zoo, I'm in.
Yeah.
and just all the animal cards. There's tons and like stacks and stacks of cards. I don't even know in those 7 games if we've gone through all the cards. That's how many cards there are. But it's so unique and interesting. And it is coming out with an expansion, which this might be one I'm going to have to check out. But that's my number 8, Ark Nova.
Nice. Yeah, I haven't played this one yet.
No?
But I know it wouldn't be my top played game. Like, that's a longer game for sure.
Yeah.
So that's impressive that it made it on this list.
I know. I was shocked.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I don't have any heavy games on my list. Now, my number 8 is Cash and Guns. And this one, I played it 8 times as well. It was published in 2014 by Ludovic Maublanc. And this is just such a neat, satisfying game. I remember when I bought it because I hunted it down and I ended up buying it from Zatu Games in the UK. So got it over and then I'm opening it and you get this foam sheet with these little guns that you pull out of it. It was so funny. And I'm at work with it and I'm like squealing and showing everybody in the pharmacy at the time. So, and they're like, yeah, okay. But it was so neat. We got it in time as well. I think it was like around Easter. So I ended up bringing it to the family gathering at Easter. And then we played it there with my in-laws. And then we played it tons of times. Well, obviously 8 times with the kids and stuff. And it's just like, so everybody gets a little foam gun. And you've gone on a robbery as a group. And you're kind of back. We're all back and now we're going to be triaging the loot, but everybody's fighting a little bit. And then you kind of, because, if you can eliminate some of the people, you don't have to share the loot with them. So, and then all of a sudden, so everybody will take their gun and point it at somebody. But before you do that, you'll put a card down and everybody has 8 cards. 5 of them are blanks, 3 of them are bullets. So you point the gun at somebody and you put a card down and it's like, well, is it a bullet or is it a gun, or is it a blank? So maybe you got a gun pointed at you, but there's nothing. Well, we played a bullet last time, so I know he doesn't have like tons of bullet left. Maybe I don't worry about it. Or maybe I was like, oh, I'm sure he's shooting me and I don't want to get shot, so maybe I should bow out of this fight. And you kind of, so then the next step is everybody decides if they're staying in or bowing out. Now, if you bow out, you don't get to partake in the loot sharing, so you miss out on that. So, but if you ever get shot 3 times, you're eliminated, you're dead. So you don't get to to score your point at the end, because you wouldn't have collected enough anyways. But so it's an interesting one, and then you have all these foam guns pointing at each other, and then I mean, I could see some people was like, oh, I think that's really bad taste and I would never do it. Luckily, we don't really care. So, and sometimes it's satisfying with your teenage kids. I am shooting you because you've been a pain. But so, and then you kind of reveal if you're shot, you're out. So you put your little character standee down. If you're still in there, then you start taking turn pulling some of the goods out. And you'll have money, you'll have some diamond, and there's a bonus at the end. So whoever has the most item that has like the diamonds in it gets the diamond bonus. And then you'll have rare like paintings. And then the more variety of painting you have, then the more value they have, because you build up a more of a collection. And it's just really satisfying. And you play 8 rounds of this, and then you kind of tally up, and whoever has the most money is the winner. It's just so neat, though. It's hilarious. Very simple game, and obviously one that we play a fair bit. So that's my number 8, Cash and Guns.
Awesome. And how many plays did you say you had?
8.
8. Nice.
Yeah.
All right. My number 7 is, I have 9 plays of this game, and this is Yinch, made in 2003 by Chris Berm. This is one of the games from the Gift series. So this is an abstract strategy 2-player game only, which all the games in the Gift series are 2 players. And this one is obviously my favorite of them. It's just proof right there. If I've played this one 9 times, it's really neat because you're basically playing Connect 4, but in a really cool way. You have or each of you have these rings. One is white, one is black. You start by placing these 4 rings, or 3 rings maybe. I just looked, the last play it was July 30th. So I played it that many times before then, but I believe it's 3. So you each place these on this grid, and then from there you can move the ring. So you can move the ring, you can slide it along the line that it's on. And if there's nothing in the way, you can just like move it. But if there is some like little stones in the way, every thing that you jump over, you will flip. So, and they're not really stones. They're like discs that will fit right in the middle of the ring. So if I jump like 2 black and 1 white, they will each flip to the opposite side. So you're trying to get 4 of yours in a row. And so once you get 4 of them, then you'll take those off, and you'll get to take one of your rings and retire it into this little spot. And once you've retired 3 rings, you win. It's really cool though, because you can see the other person trying to, get their line. So then you jump over theirs to flip the ones that they're trying to remain as their color, and then they see that, so then they do it back to you. And it's really a cool game, because sometimes you're doing an offensive move and you're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna build this up, and then you haven't even noticed over here on the board they've set up something and already flipped 4 of theirs. So cool. Very addicting game, and I just love it. And it's one of those that I could be in my dream day of abstract strategy all day long. But this one would be near the top of that for sure. And that's my number 7, Yinch.
Yinch, nice. Yeah, no, I haven't played that one. And yeah, it definitely, I picture it. I can see what it looks like. So it looks interesting. Perfect. My number 7 is nothing like yours. No. It's called Pizza Party. And this is one that you can find it at Walmart. It's a very simple game. You got 10 dice, and each dice, so Pizza Party, we played it 9 times, published in 2013, created by Paul Lamont. And you have the 10 dice. Each dice has a pizza ingredient on it. So it'll have pepperoni, mushroom, peppers, anchovies, or different type of ingredient on all of them. And then you have these cards, and it's really neat because the cards are in a pizza slice shape. And then on your turn, you'll be like, oh, well, it's not on your turn, so real time. So then when you're ready, you take a piece and you flip it in front of you, and you keep rolling the dice until you've rolled all the ingredients that are on that slice of pizza. When you have it, you get to add it to your pizza, and then you grab the next slice and you go and you keep rolling until you get all the ingredients for that slice of pizza, and then you add it to your pizza. And you need to get 6 of them to complete your pizza, and the first person to complete a pizza wins the game. So this has been me and Lily mostly playing this, and then we'll play, and then it's like, okay, again. It's like, okay, one more time. And then so that's why we've played this one every time. We play at least twice. So that's why it's made it on this list, because it's one that we play. It doesn't get to the table often, but when it does, it stays for a while, and we just kind of keep rolling. And then she's like, I almost had you this time. Okay, we're doing it again, right? And some pizza slices have like 3 ingredients. Some of them have like all 5 ingredients. And then you're like, I need a pepperoni. Quit rolling mushrooms. And it's like, so it's just a satisfying, quick game to play. And that's my number 7, Pizza Party.
Awesome. Yeah, I have seen this before. Like, it come in like a little pizza
triangle shape.
Yeah. Oh, triangle. Yeah. Pizza. A slice of pizza. Right.
Yeah.
Awesome. I just checked because I was just thinking if it was the game Yinch I was playing. It's actually 5 you have to connect, not 4. Because after I thought about it, I'm like, it feels like the line's longer. So it was actually 5. But all right. Well, my number 6, I have 9 plays in as well. And that's Istanbul Dice, made by Rudiger Dorn in 2017. This one is one of my husband's favorites, so it's gotten to the table quite a bit. It's a smaller version of the big game Istanbul, but still just as satisfying. You are just trying to collect 6 rubies, I believe, in a 2-player game. This one will play up to 4, but I've only played it at 2, I believe. And so you're just racing to try and collect these rubies. And how you do that is there's different ways you can go about it. Everyone on their turn, you roll a dice, and I think it's like 5 dice unless you have accumulated more. But everyone starts and gets to roll 5 dice, and you have 2 actions. So you can use whatever dice you roll. If you have different colors on the dice, if you had all different colors, you could collect a wild crate, which can be any color. And you typically are trying to, one way of getting rubies is having 4 or 5 crates, depending on what the level is at the time. I think it starts with you need 4. And then, so I say I had 4 blue crates, which is goods. I could collect a ruby, but then the next person who collects blue is going to have 5 of them. So every time you take a ruby, it gets harder to get them. You could also collect crates by just paying money. I can't remember if the first one's like 14 or 15 coins to do, but that's another action you could do with your dice. If you rolled a bunch of coins, say I rolled 3 coin symbols on my dice, I could use that action, and you get 2 coins for each dice you roll. So I could just collect 6 coins. Another thing you can do is some of the die faces will show cards. So if I rolled some cards, I can grab as many cards as I rolled, and I can only keep one, but you get the choice of which one. And they're usually just giving you something. They might be giving you a good, they might be giving you some coins. Sometimes they'll have something, a requirement, and if you have that, then you'll get something. So sometimes it'll give you a ruby. If you happen to have like 2 wild crates, then you just get a ruby. Those are quite rare, and it's usually doesn't happen that you have the thing that you need to get the ruby, but sometimes it does, and it's really cool. There's also these little tiles you can take they'll give you bonuses throughout the game. So if one say cost 5 yellow goods, and so say I had 3 yellow dice rolled and I had 2 yellow goods sitting there, I could pay those and take one of these bonus tiles. Now this bonus tile might be at the beginning of my turn, I get a coin. It might be at the beginning of the turn, I get another dice. It might give me a card at the beginning of my turn. So you're just building this little tiny engine in order to be the quicker one to get the rubies. And it's so simple, but it's such a fun game and so unique. And that's my number 6, Istanbul Dice.
Nice. Yeah, I played this one once with Lily.
Yeah.
It was a learning game, so we'd have to definitely play that one again. My number 6 is a game I bought because of you, actually. And we've played this one 9 times, and it's Impact Battle of Element. It was published in 2018, and it's created by Dieter Nubel. And because you had, I think it was like our top dice game that we had talked about in one of the previous episodes, and you talked about Strike. And as you were talking about it, I knew, it was like, oh my God, my family would love this one. I need to find it. And then you had come across the Impact one, which is very similar, different theme, but very similar, plays the same way. So we end up getting it, and it's so neat because you open the box and there's like this little plastic arena, I guess, with like a foam bottom, and you will have all the, depending on the depending on the number of players, how many dice you have, and then one gets rolled into the middle, and you will roll one in, and if it matches the symbol, you get to take those out. If it doesn't match, you could decide if you want to roll more or pass. And then the next person would go. Now, if at any time somebody collects all of the dice out of it and there's no dice in the box, then the next person has a big bang and they got to throw all their dice in and hope that they get a match so they can pull out. But if you ever run out of dice, then you're eliminated from the game. And this is one that, every time we play, first of all, the whole family will play this one. Says, okay, we're playing this one. Like, oh, okay, yeah, sure. Like, and they'll come and then willingly will play this one, right? And it's also one that's like, okay, let's try it again. It's like, and we'll end up playing it a few times in a row. It's just very satisfying. It's super simple, complete luck driven. There's no strategy here. But it's just fun. And that's my number 6, Impact Battle of Elements.
And how many plays did you have of that one?
9.
9 as well, yeah. This went over well with my kids, and so then I pulled it out at a bigger family function, and nobody liked it. I was like, what?
Really?
Yeah, they were like, what? I don't understand. We're just throwing and hitting dice. I'm like, yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not for everybody, but
I guess not.
It. All right, my number 5 is, I have 10 plays of this game, and ironically, the game is called 10. And this is made in 2021 by Molly Johnson, Robert Melvin, and Sean Stankovich. This one is a push your luck game, push your luck set collection game. So you are just drawing cards on your turn and hoping you don't bust before you can get it as what you want or as many cards as you want. Now, each card will either have a number on it or it'll have these little stones. So currency, they call them. So if it has like a number 6, and then the next time you pull a number 3, you're still good because you're not above 10. You can get to 10, but if you go over 10, you bust. But the thing is, if I pulled a 6 and then the next card I flipped was a currency card of 3, it takes 3 away from the 6. So now I'm back down to 3. So then I can keep pulling cards as long as I don't bust. But you could bust pulling the number cards over 10 or the currency cards over 10. So you're just trying to collect cards and collect sets of numbers. I believe there's 5 or 6 different colors, and you want numbers from 1 to 9. Now, you can collect as many as you want, and you can plug in cards whenever. It's not like you can only go to the top or the bottom. But if you don't have the exact sequential, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you jump to a 7, those ones will not count. You can only count your longest chain in each color. If you get to 9, you'll get 9 points plus a bonus at the end. So each card is only worth 1 point in your longest chain. Now there's some wild cards, and so when they come up, they're automatically auctioned off. So as soon as one of them comes up, you, I believe, get the first crack at like pricing the auction, and then it goes around the table until somebody just, there's only one person standing, and they will pay their currency for that card, and they will take it, and then they'll continue on their turn. It's so neat, and it's just a unique game. The first couple times you play it, you're almost like, I don't really get it. Like I didn't get any cards. Like, I don't know, but you need to play this a few times to be like, okay, now I kind of get what I'm doing. I need to, stop. Oh, and the one thing too is it with the currency cards. So say I had currency cards up to 7, and I just chose to stop. I could either take the cards, like the number cards, or I could just take that currency. So then you can store the currency, because you always want to have money when these wild cards come up. Another thing is when you bust, you get this little white disc, which is worth 3, and it'll just be put off to the side. The max of the black currency you can have is only 10. So you basically could only have $10 in black, but the white ones, you can have as many as you want. So busting at least gives you that, a nice prize that you get to keep, because you can, if you had like 3 white chips and then you still had your 10, you've got $19. So you have a lot of bargaining power or auctioning power for when the wild cards come out. And they are very helpful because you can usually plug them in almost anywhere. It's just a neat game that you just go through the deck, and then whoever has the best set collection wins. There's some not negotiating, but, just deduction where you're trying to figure out, okay, am I going to stop here and there's 3 cards there that I need, but I'm only at 3 now, so I should keep going. But then I could bust on the currency. So the choices are really neat, and it's a fun game. I wouldn't recommend it at a higher player count, because your turn could be kind of a longer one, and then you're waiting around the table for your turn to come. The one nice thing is if you do bust, whatever currency was on the table, everybody else will get. So you could get things on your up to 10, obviously, because you only have 10 black, but it's a good 2-player game. 2-3, I would say max 4, but 2-3 at the best. And that's my number 5. 10.
Nice. Yeah, I've played that one and did horrible. It was so bad. But I think I've only played it the once, I think. So yeah, I need to redeem myself. My number 5, we played 9 times. And that's Vampire Queen. And this one was published in 2016. It was created by Wolfgang Kramer. And this is one that we just absolutely love. If I ever come across a copy of this game again, I really should buy a new version. Like, we bought this one secondhand, not knowing anything. It came like in a lot. So I was like, hey, I'm selling this lot of game for this much. I was like, sure, I'll buy that. And then this was in there, and I was like, I don't know, let's give it a try. It was so good. And I guess it's a trick-taking game. You get 13 cards, and it's all different Victorian vampires on it, right? Anywhere from 2 to 14. And 14 is the Vampire Queen. And 14 can be used as a wild, or it could be used as a 14. And the way that you'll play is like, okay, so let's say I've got 3 threes, and I'll put like 3 threes. Then everybody has to play 3 higher than my number 3. So be like, all right, well, and then sometimes like, well, I got 4 4, so I don't really want to break up that set, so I'm going to pass. Or sometimes like I only have 2 10s. I could add my Vampire Queen, but do I want to play it now? So there's like kind of all of that. So everybody kind of goes around playing or passing until it gets to the last player. Then it ends there. Whoever played the highest card takes the trick, basically, and then they start the next round. Now, what's really interesting, too, is there's 2 cards that are Vampire Hunter cards. And those ones you can't hide because they're double-sided. So if it's in your card, you can see who has the Vampire Hunter card. Then if it's your turn and you want to play a vampire card, you have to play this one at the beginning of a round. So be like, okay, well, I'll play a vampire card. One's worth 15, one's worth 20. So you put the vampire card down. And now everybody plays a single card, and they try to play as low as they can go. Because whoever wins that trick takes the whole pack and adds it to their hands. And now you have the vampire card in your hand, and you have all these cards you've picked up in your hand, so it makes your hand bigger. And the goal is trying to get rid of all of your cards. So when somebody is able to get rid of all of their cards, then you have to tally up the total of what you've got left in your cards by the number. So if you have a 10 and an 8, you got 18 points or so on. So you tally up all the numbers, and then that's your score. So you play 5 rounds, and whoever has the lowest score is the winner. Now, I'm not great at this game. And I get the concept, so it's not like I don't understand. But there was one time we played, and I'm trying to play to win, but I scored well over 500 points. I don't know how that's possible. Like a bad round, after 5 rounds, you'll have like 150, 180. And I was at 500 and it was like, what is going on? But yeah, no, it's so satisfying though. We love this one. And I would play this one anytime. And it's one that we introduce to everybody. And it's just so good. That's my number 5, Vampire Queen.
Awesome. My number 4, I have 11 plays of, and that's Color Addict, made by Nicola Spinard, made in 2009. This one I've just talked about recently at the convention. We played it again. It's such a fun game and so quickly played. Total race game. You were just trying to get rid of your cards. You all have a stack of cards in front of you. There's a card played on the table, and that card, depending what it shows, it'll show a color. It has a little splotch in the middle, which you need to disregard, but that's there to throw you off. It'll have a color of a word, and the word might be a different color than what the word says. So if it says brown, but it's in pink, you can either put a brown card down or a pink card down, and you're just all playing at the same time and just trying to get rid of cards. You have some joker cards that you can play and just choose a color, but it's just so funny. And the funniest thing is playing with somebody for the first time they played, because they have no idea what's going on. They're like, what? And then they start playing on the splotches and you're like, nope, those don't count. You have to just disregard the splotch. So it really makes your brain, like it tricks your brain, because the first thing you see is this big splotch on the card. So you're like, pink. Oh, no, it's not pink. Oh, wait, but it says pink. So yeah, I can put pink down. But it's just I don't know how they come up with these games. There's another game that is similar, and I forget what it's called. I did see it, and it adds something else to it, and I was going to buy it, and then I've looked it up, and I can't seem to find it. But once I figure it out again, I'm going to have to look it up. And and you can print and play that game.
Oh,
and
nice.
I do not like print and playing cards because I can never get them the same. I'd rather just buy the card game, but this one, Color Addict, is something that should be in everyone's collection. I think there's a time and a place for this, and everyone can play. And that's my number 4, Color Addict.
Nice. Yeah, we've played that a few times, and it always seems to come out first thing in the morning, and it's like, oh my god, my brain is not ready for this. But it is satisfying. We'll have like some players and with new players, and they're like, I don't think I put a single card down. It's like,
they're just watching, like, what?
Like, what?
They're trying to get in there, but they can't.
That's funny. All right, my number 4 is Clask. We have played this one 10 times. It was published in 2014, and it's created by Mikael Bertelsen. And this one is like hair hockey. And you have this like little wooden table thing that goes on top of your table, but you have your piece that's on the top, that's kind of the piece you play with, and then you have the magnetic piece underneath that's what you control. So you control from below the table, and you can move your piece around. Then you have this little yellow marble, it's like a plastic marble, and you would kind of hit it, and there's like a wall, like there's a line at the middle. You can't reach on the other side. There's a block there. So you can only control on your side of the board, and same as they. And then there's a little hole near the back that's where you're trying to send the marble to land in there, and that's how you score. Now you want to be careful not to accidentally fall in there, because if your piece gets in there, you forfeit the game and they get a point. And there's also in the middle these 3 little magnetic plastic pieces. And if you ever end up with 2 of them attached to you, because if you get too close, they'll magnetize onto your piece. If you ever get 2 of them attached to you, again, you forfeit the game, and then the other player wins. But then sometimes you can kind of try to get your piece and hit the marble so that it'll hit one of those white pieces and send it shooting on the other side. So you're trying to get the other player to kind of actually get these attached to him as well. So that's another way you could play. And then you just kind of play, and it's hectic and it's fast. And I think it's the first one to score 10 times wins the game. And so we played as like, and then it's a 2-player game. There's a 4-player version out there that's kind of a circle instead of a rectangle, and I have never played this one. I own the rectangle one, and I bought this one actually at Canadian Tire. Canadian Tire had it one Christmas season, so I ended up buying a couple copies. We kept one for the kids as a gift, and then I gifted one for my nephew. But you're playing it. It's just one of those games like, okay, I'm playing the winner, and it's like, oh, God, fine, your turn, and then you're like, so. It always gets played a few times when it comes out, and it's just satisfying. It's like prowess, and you're just trying to get that marble and to score. And that's number 4, Clask.
Yeah, that always gets your heart racing, that one. I haven't tried this one yet, but I've seen it at a convention, and I've watched it played, and I've looked at Canadian Tire, and I have not seen it there. So I'll keep looking, but... Awesome. All right. My number 3 is a game I have 12 plays of, and that's 5 Crowns by Marcia J. Falco, made in 1996. Now, this is a game that I've played with my family a lot. And I mean, not just my kids and my husband, but my dad, my brother. And so this was one we would pull out. We always have Monday night is a family supper that we get together with my brother's family and my dad. And so this is a tradition we've done ever since my mom passed away. She used to do a Sunday night supper, and we continued at that on. That was one of her wishes. She's like, please keep getting together Sundays.
Oh,
so
that's nice.
We did. And then eventually it turned into a Monday, which was just better for all of us. So we just take turns having supper at places. And sometimes it's a simple supper, but we had started playing cards after too. And that was more in the summer we did that, which we would kind of, sometimes take it outside on the deck or whatever. But it was just kind of neat because it would be my dad. This is my dad's favorite of the games he's played so far. I'm like, Dad, there's so many that I need to show you, but oh no, let's play this one. So, and he's like from an old, a line of trick takers. Him and his brothers play trick taking games all the time. Well, this is not a trick taking game. This is like a rummy style game, basically. But he really enjoys this one. We do play another one that is the word version of it, and it's called Quiddler. But he prefers this one because it's just numbers and it's just easier for him. And it's just all you're doing is you have a hand of cards and you start with 3, I believe. And each round you add another card. Everyone gets an extra one. So the first round of 3, the 3s are wild and you're just trying to play either a set of 3 or a run of 3. The set would have to be the same color. No, sorry, the run would have to be the same color and the set would have to be all different colors. Then the next, and whoever plays like their set first, so the 3 cards, they, I think it's 4 cards you start with because you always have to discard one. Well, no, you'd have 3 and then pick one up and discard. So yeah, it is 3. But then the first player to play it down, everybody else gets one more turn, and if they can't play their set, all their cards are added to their score, and you want to have the lowest score. The next round, you deal 4 cards. The 4s are wild. There's also jokers as well, so you always have wild jokers. But the thing that the way you're supposed to play is you're not supposed to know or tell anyone, okay, which was wild this hand? Because all you do is you count your cards. If I have 4 cards, 4s are wild. But it's funny because someone always asks, oh, what's wild this round? And we're like, well, figure it out. Because you just have to count them and then you don't know which one's wild. And you forget and you'll give a wild away. Happens every game. And you're like, thank you very much. And then you're like, no, I didn't mean to give you that wild. I could have went out. But the neat thing is, like, you could be way behind. But once you get all the way up to kings, that round can change the whole game. So you could literally go out and everybody else is stuck with all their cards. So, and that's 13 cards, I think, right? 10, 11, 12, 13. So you would be 11, 12, 13. You'd be stuck, who knows? Because, of course, if you have a joker or a wild card, those are worth high 50 points. You don't want to be stuck with any of those in your hand. You will get to play your runs and sets, like even if you don't play all your cards, so you're typically not stuck with all your cards in your hand, but it's a really interesting little game that we play. The family loves it, and it's something that is kind of grown to be a tradition. I am trying to sneak in other games, like, how about we try this one? But this is one that they all love, and that's my number 3, 5 Crowns.
Yeah, 5 Crowns definitely has that traditional card game feel to it.
Mm-hmm.
I've played Quiddler as well, and we didn't keep Quiddler. Just, I like the word games, but I'm the only one in the family who does.
I think I bought your Quiddler from you.
Oh, possible, yeah. Because, it was just like, it just didn't go over quite as well as the 5 Crowns did. But yeah, it just has that traditional card game feel. It's just very satisfying. Yeah. All right, so my number 3 is a game that we've played 10 times, and that's Tempura. And it was published in 2011, and it's created by Kurakimura. And this one is hilarious. And it's, so I guess the theme of the game is you're trying to eat as much as you can without getting indigestion. And it's cat themed. So you have all these whimsical cat images. Number 5 is a hairless cat, and it just grosses me right out. So, but each cat will do, like, and the way that you play is like, okay, well, I'm going to play a 5. So then everybody else can play a 5. Or you can play a card. You could play 2 of the same card that's different. So let's say, well, I'm going to play 2 3s. So one of them goes on the stack, that gets discarded, and you start a new one. And then you kind of keep adding unless you can't add. Now you'll have the irregular card, like the cat cards, and then you have action cards that will allow you to kind of do a different action. It's like, okay, well, for my action card, I'm going to reverse the order, so it goes back to you, and now it's going this way. And then, no problem, I could play another one until it'll be like, darn it, I can't play. So, and if you can't play, you have to take the number of... Is it the number of cards that's in there or the tally of the cards that's in there? And I think it's the tally of the cards. So you count the tally of the cards, like, great, 28. So then you got to draw 28 cards. And then, so you're drawing all these cards, but some of the cards that's in the deck is an indigestion card. And if you get that, then you get the indigestion card, and it sucks, but you got to keep drawing. If you ever get 3 indigestion, you lose the game. And then after every time somebody kind of does that, it says, okay, well, the indigestion card goes back in the deck. Be like, I'm adding another one. So then all of a sudden there's like a lot of indigestion card in this deck. And then now if you've drawn 28, you're kind of not bad for a while because you've got 28 cards. So you're probably going to have some option and not have to draw for a while. So it's not a bad thing to draw a lot at the beginning. And sometimes like, 2, huh? You know what? That's okay. I'm going to draw 2 because it's a very small number to draw. But you could just as easily still draw an indigestion card. It's interesting. It is such a neat game. A neat game to play. This one, and Pina Paradas, like, we bought a bunch of them and we gifted to everybody for Christmas. And it's some that Lily just is taking a loving to and be like, okay, let's play this one again. It's like, okay, yeah, let's do it. It's just so satisfying. And that's why we played it 10 times. And I think we bought it maybe in the fall, early fall, maybe. Like, so it's not like we've had it a long time in 2022, but when we got it, we just played it so much. And that's my number 3, Tempura.
Yeah, this one I bought after your recommendation. It's sitting on my shelf of shame because I was thinking the game day we had that I would get you to teach it to us because it's a minimum 3 players, right?
Oh, yes.
This one, yeah. So next time we'll have to get you to teach it.
We'll remember.
I mean, I could easily learn it too, but it's always nice when someone can just teach it to you. All right, my number 2, I actually have 17 plays of this one. And this is made in 2020, and it's called Bandita by Martin Nedergaard Anderson. This one is a route building game. I'd say you are trying to dig a hole out with this Bandita. She's like a criminal. She's trying to dig her way out of this tunnel to get free. You're trying to block her entrances. So all these, and it's a card game. You have all these cards and they are just different formations of tunnels. And they're either like a straight line or an L, or they'll have like different passageways off the line. And so you start with one in the middle and then you all just play a card. So you're trying to cut off as many of these tunnel routes that are coming out as possible. But you have a lot of cards, like even cards that is like an H, so it's like connecting two tunnels, but also pulling them out further. Now, this one is a little bit different. It's kind of a sequel to Bandito, which was the simpler version. I'm not going to say simpler, but just less going on in that game where you're just strictly building out tunnels. With Bandita, some of the cards have symbols on them and they will mean different things. You might play a card that says it has a little symbol that means you have to play all of your cards right now. So there's some bad like symbols, and then there's some good ones that will let you hold extra cards in your hand. So you normally only can hold 3, but if you play this one card now, you can hold 5. So you have more options. You're not supposed to talk and like say, oh, like I have this formation. So it's like a cooperative game, but with limited communication. You can say like, oh, I'll take care of this area over here so that nobody plays something to extend that tunnel, whereas you know you can cut it off right now. It's one of those games where you play and it's not easy because you'll play it and you're like, oh, we were so close. We just had a few more. Let's play it again. And so you'll play it 2 or 3 times at least. You can play the first version of the game, Bandito, on Boardgame Arena just to try it out. But it's really neat and quick. It does take up the whole table because you're building your tunnel out all different directions. A lot of times, once we've closed off an area, we kind of get rid of those cards and block them and slide it back to the middle so that we're not building off the table. It's really neat, and it's a perfect 2-player game. I don't think I've played it with more than 2. Maybe on Boardgame Arena, but not on the table. But that's my number 2, Bandita.
Nice. I have to try that one still. Mm-hmm. Now, my number 2, I'm actually surprised this isn't number 1, and I'm not surprised this one is on the list at all. This is by far Lily's favorite go-to game. And it's Love Letter. We've played this one 15 times. And it's published in 2012, and it's created by Seiji Kane. And I think one of the reasons this might not be at the very top is we have a lot of variation of this game as well. So we have Love Letter. We got the Jabba the Hutt's Palace, and then we've got the Marvel one, the Infinity Gauntlet one, and then I have Lovecraft Letter and this one, and then we got the Munchkin Letter as well. And if I come across more, I'll be buying more. So we just really like this one. Definitely Love Letter, the traditional one, is the one that gets to the table the most. And then every time we'll play a few games, and then Lily will get up and grab it and then be like, okay, Love Letter time. So, and it is so satisfying to play. This is a simple game. It's 16 cards. That is it. 16 cards. And then you shuffle them. Everybody has one card in front of them. On your turn, you draw a card and you'll play a card. Now, you're trying to make it that if you get to the final round, you have the highest numbered card. So if you have a princess, that's great. She's the highest numbered card. But each card do a different ability as well. So, you have the guard, and the guard will allow you to try to guess another card. And if you guess correctly, that player is eliminated from the round. And then you'll have the priest, and the priest allows you to look at another player's card. Then you'll have the baron, and the baron, so if you play the baron, then you have to compare the card that's left in your hand with another player, and then you would show each other, and then whoever has the highest number stays in the game. The other one is eliminated from the game. Then you have the handmaid, and the handmaid, you just kind of put that one in front of you and be like, Kate, nobody can do anything to me for the next round. And then you'll have the prince, and then the prince forces you to discard a card and then draw a new card. So it kind of changes what you have in your hand. And again, so they all do different things. But the princess is, if you have the princess and you ever discard the princess for any reason, you're eliminated. You cannot discard the princess. So if somebody plays a prince where you have to discard and it was a princess, then you're out of the game. Which for us is like, okay, great, the princess is out of the way. Then we there's a chance, so, and you keep playing until you get to that there's no more cards out of the 16 cards, or that everybody else has been eliminated. And then you win the favor of the princess, and you get a little love token, and it's like a little square red token, and you put that on your hand, and then depending on how many plays you have, how many of those you need to collect to win the game. Now there's a deluxe version that has like little heart-shaped ones, and I really want to get heart-shaped ones eventually. But it is just such a neat, simple, satisfying game to play that always goes over so well. And this isn't necessarily one I'd be like, okay, let's play again. Okay, let's play again. Sometimes we will. We might play a couple rounds in a row, but this is just one that has high number just because we bring it to the table that many times. And that's my number 2, Love Letter.
Yeah, I thought this was going to be your number 1 when we were talking about this list. Now I'm curious. I got to think what your number 1 would be. All right. Well, my number 1, I have 33 plays of. This was made in 2021 by Joshua Devaney and Nikola Risteski. And this is Dice Miner. This is,
wow.
I think, my favorite dice game. Like, just lighter dice game. But this one is so unique, whereas you're drafting dice, but when you draft the dice, you draft them off this little mountain, and you can only take from the top of the mountain unless you roll a beer dice. So you spend a beer dice, you roll it and give it to somebody, and you shout some hurrah or something. I can't remember what it is. And then you get to choose 2 dice. So you could choose them off the top or the sides. So the sides meaning like the sides of the mountain, or if you have some peaks in the mountain, you can still choose off the sides of some of the peaks. What you're doing with these dice is there's all different colors of dice. There's white dice, which are just plain D6s. Those ones you're trying to make runs with. And you always have to start with 1. So if you don't have a 1, your run is worth nothing. The ones are always, the most sought after for the straights. Now, if you have a 1, you need a 2, a 3. Now, say I have 3 1s, and then there's a couple 2s on the mountain. I can pull those out, and I'll get to add those. But you would like to get a full run, because I think it's 15 points if you get the full run. You have some green dice. Those ones will give you these little treasure chests that at the end of the round, you do have 3 rounds, I believe. And at the end of the round, the dice you've collected, you get to roll all of them and get to keep them. Now, if you have a treasure chest, you can keep a dice from rolling it. So maybe you want to save some of those 1s because those are hard to get, or maybe you want to save something else. But the other thing on the green dice is those ones have the comets they have the shields and the So now what those are good for is you have black dice that will either show dragons or it looks like little comets, but it means like the mountain is like closing in on you. So if you have the green shovel and you have a whole bunch of the comets, those will give you positive points. But if you don't have any shovels, then all those black comets or dragons are going to give you negative points. So you can turn the negative into positive. You also have yellow dice, which are just diamonds, and those are just worth straight points. If you have the most, I think you get to double them, or you get more somehow. Then you have some blue dice, which show these little symbols, and those are magic. And those will let you, at the end of the round, once all the dice are drafted, re-roll some of the dice you have. So it's just a neat little, tiny engine builder, but it's cool how you can manipulate your dice and you can give away a beer. So you will draft some beer because next time you'll get 2 dice. There might not be something you want right now, but also I'll take a beer. Next time I'll have more options. It's just really neat, and it's a quick game. You can probably play this in 15 minutes, and obviously I must play 3 to 5 times each time I play it. There is a little solo variant I've tried, not often, but I've tried it and it's fun. But it's just a really cool little dice chucker, and that's my number 1, Dice Miner.
Yeah, I gotta get this one to the table again. It's been a while. Yeah. It is a neat, satisfying game with all the different dice, and it's a cool one. Good pick. Yeah. All right, my number 1. Have you thought of what it might be?
I'm just trying. Pictures of your games are going through my head, and I would have thought it would have been
Love Letter,
or Pina Parada. I would have thought, just that's what I've seen so many pictures.
Yeah,
of. But give me a clue.
It'll play up to 6 players.
Oh, um, uh, Word Slam?
No, that would be cool though.
Oh, okay.
We played that one yesterday. It was so
Did you?
neat. No, my number one is Skull.
Oh, shoot.
We've played Skull 19 times in 2022. Skull was created in 2011. It's created by Hervé Marley. And I didn't realize we had played it this many times, but this is a satisfying game. So every player gets like this square tile and then 4 coasters. And then on your, and these are bright, colorful, kind of cardboard coasters, right? And then 3 of them is going to be a flower of some sort, and 1 of them is going to be a skull. And then you start, everybody puts 1 down in front of them, and then they go around and you can add 1 to the top of your pile. And then you kind of keep going around and you'll add until somebody wants to start bidding. And when you're bidding how many coasters you think you can flip over without revealing a skull. And you always have to reveal all of the ones you have in front of you. So maybe I've put 2 in front of me and I'll say, oh, I bid 2. And then the next person be like, all right, well, there's like 6 coasters out, so I'll bid 3. But maybe I bid 2 knowing that one of mine is a skull in hopes that somebody would outbid me so that they would think I only have flowers and they would flip the ones in front of me, right? So then when it's like, okay, great, you win the bid, then you flip what's in front of you. And sometimes you do that. It's like, okay, I'm going to bid 3, hoping that I get outbid and somebody will look at mine and mine has a skull and then be like, okay, fine, you win. It's like, damn it, I know I have a skull. So if you ever reveal a skull, whether it's your own or at another location, because you have to reveal yours. So maybe I had 2 in front of me and I would have to reveal 1 more because I bid 3. And I'd be like, okay, Lee, flip yours. And then he'd flip his. And if it's a skull, I was like, oh, darn it, why would you put a skull down? So then if you get that you've revealed a skull, you will lose 1 of your coasters. So you kind of shuffle them. 1 is randomly taken away. Then you kind of looks like, okay. So then you see what you have. Maybe you don't even have a skull anymore. Maybe that's got taken away. So then you're like, yeah, okay, I have a skull. But you don't anymore. So you keep going until, because if you successfully bid, let's say I bid 4 and I reveal 4 coasters and I don't reveal a skull, well, then my big square tile gets flipped over to show that I've scored 1 time. If you manage to do that 2 times, you win the game. So sometimes Lee was like, hey, I bid 4. And I was like, darn it, there's like 5 coasters out there. You know, it's like, but if he wins the game.
Yeah, so you like, gotta like, take the chance, right?
I'll bid 5. It's like, darn, like, and it's like, but you know, just to try to keep the win away. Like, it's an interesting game. It's so simple. Yeah. And it was funny, like reading the rules, and I'm like, what?
Yeah, it's
like it's having it explained is like
hard to understand.
What?
The rules.
Like you gotta play it. Yeah. It was like, oh, okay. This really is super simple. But it's just like to listen to it or to read the rules. The first time we played it, we had watched some tutorial videos and I didn't quite get it. And we're reading the rules and we're like, this doesn't make sense. And then we got playing. It's like, oh, okay. It's like, I get it now. But it's just so satisfying. It's one that we pull out again and again and again. And I think this has made my top list because I play with my family lots, and this is one that we'll play with a family. We'll have like new people come over, and then this will be one that we'll pull out to introduce new players to. Or I'll go to gaming events, and this is one we'll play with heavy gamers as well. It's just has matched and played at any type of level, and it's just one that we play often. And that's my number 1, Skull.
Yeah, when you said that, I just remembered we played this at my retreat.
Yeah,
and I looked back. I hadn't recorded it because it was me, you, Jackie played with us.
Yeah,
and then Travis.
Yeah, I think Travis might have, and then we had Richard.
Oh, it was
Richard played it as well.
There was only was there 5 of us or 4?
It was at least 5, I think.
5, but
I think
it was neat because we were teaching Jackie. She'd never played this.
Yeah,
and so at first she's like, what is going, like, I don't get it.
Yeah.
And it's just like the rules. It's like they're oversimplified. It's an oversimplified
Yes, we're
game,
missing something.
and we try to make it complicated, and it's not. It's very simple. But it's the perfect game to like bring to a pub, right? Throw out some posters.
Oh yeah, you could play.
Drinks.
It takes no space. You could play this anywhere.
Yeah, no, it's cool. I love that game too.
Yeah,
Awesome.
no, it's a neat one. So so that was our top games played in 2022. Now next week, we're going to be doing our top 9 deduction games. I'm really excited for that. That's a genre I like.
Mm-hmm. There's going to be a lot in there. I've started making a list. There's quite a few. It's going to be a tough one.
Yeah, it's a fun one for sure. It's a neat one. Now, before we kind of wrap all this up, where can we find you, Carla?
I'm on Instagram at Board Game Specialist, all one word. And on Facebook, I have a page called Red Deer Board Game Fanatics. What about you?
Well, we do now have a Discord channel, so be sure to join us on that, and we'll add the link to the comments below. And if for any reason, because I think those links expire, so if for any reason it doesn't work, let us know. We'll put a new one on. But the Discord has been a lot of fun. I'm also on Instagram as Mal's_boardgame_room. My Facebook page is Mal's Board Game Room, and my YouTube channel is Mal's Board Game Room. Awesome. So that's it for this week. Be sure to tune in next week for our top 9 deduction game.
Thanks for listening. Bye for now.
Bye.